here tonight to celebrate art history, the subject, but in particular the accomplishments and trajectory of Art History Link-Up, which has, without question, built a new road into the subject, especially for state school students who wouldn't otherwise be able to study it. This is, I think, is clear, quite an urgent initiative, maybe more urgent than ever. Some of you might have seen in The Guardian this weekend a story entitled "Huge Decline of Working Class People in the Arts Reflected in Wider Society." Did you see this story? And it's actually linked to the journal article in Sociology that is the quite complicated piece of underpinning research. And its four authors conclude that there's been no change in the underlying pattern of relative mobility into creative jobs, which sounds quite good, doesn't it? No change. The chances of getting into creative work are profoundly unequal in class terms, but they're neither more nor less unequal than they've ever been. So it's a sobering message, I think, from this study. The situation might not be worse than it was in what sometimes heralded as a golden age for social mobility into the arts in the 60s and 70s, but then again, it's as bad as ever. And art history, of course, is a humanities subject, technically, not an arts subject per se. So you might question, or we might all question, how relevant these findings are for us. But in fact, I think we've heard from some of the students who've spoken this evening that their pathway into this subject was through creative practice. And for many of us involved in art history, there's an incredibly nourishing, fundamental tie between creative practice and historical study. The roots of art history are completely tangled up with art practice and production. And of course, we as art historians are primarily concerned with the visual arts made by artists, and so we should also be concerned about the pathways for all people into art schools as well. So art history is part of the story that includes access to cultural education in all of its forms. And I think as we've already heard, and maybe all of us, it's probably inscribed on our hearts, fewer than 1,000 students sit the A-level exam each year. In fact, I find it quite hard to keep track of the numbers. It may be considerably less than that now. And a vanishingly small number of schools offer it. I think we heard 7 of the schools that offer it are in the state sector, and the remaining are in the independent sector. So the feed for this subject is overwhelmingly from the independent sector. And I suspect that a lot of the issue that we have to contend with is that the state school students who are interested or potentially interested in all cultural forms, but particularly the visual arts, who study literature, who study modern foreign languages, history, art and design topics, that these students barely hear of the subject unless their teachers tell them about it. So if you're in this room or the Zoom room, there's a camera, I think, that's connecting us to those who are snowed in or have colds. You probably understand and are very committed to art history as a vitally important subject, offering critical tools to help understand the human past, the arc of civilizations, the workings of religion and magic and joy and violence and all of the things that set our species apart and also cause some of the problems that I think you mentioned in the final entry. When the Courtauld was founded 90 years ago, it was conceived as a classroom for studying art history, with a classroom that included masterpieces, works of art. And one of the things that we've been able to do this year in collaborating with Art History Link-Up is bring Art History Link-Up students into not just our classrooms, but our galleries as well. And I think that's because the alignment of the Courtauld Institute with Art History Link-Up is fundamentally because of a shared vision for art history as an important subject, and one which involves people coming together to look at works of art in museums and galleries together, and also on screens and all the other ways that we access them. So it's been a real joy having our Leon Kossoff learning studio full of A-level art history students and our galleries full of them as well on Saturdays. And we're very much looking forward to a shared future with Art History Link Up. And we at the Courtauld want to thank everyone who's supported it. And we're very inspired by the students that study it. And then also, I mean, elephant in the room is really just how important Rose is as a source of inspiration for this whole thing, the person, the sine qua non of the whole enterprise. So thank you very much, Rose, for bringing the Courtauld together with Art History Link Up, and thank you all for coming this evening. And would you like your microphone back? Oh, okay.